Let's talk about Smackdown. Pretty good show actually this week, except for that main event, which is Slapdash. Did not need that, but we'll talk about it when we get there. First, news and notes. Some pretty substantial news and notes. First things first, WrestleVotes, which so take it with a grain of salt, is making the claim that SmackDown is going to 3 hours the moment Raw goes to Netflix. And there was a collective groan. I wasn't even on the internet. I was just kind of like in court. And next thing I know, I heard like 20,000 people go at the same time. So, we took a little break. I go look at my phone. I'm like, SmackDown 3 hours. Well, I see why everybody was groaning. I had a feeling this was going to happen. Look, none of us like the idea. 3 hours on a Friday night. That's just egregious, bruh. That's egregious. But, okay, I figured it would happen because they were getting paid for that extra hour of SmackDown, of Raw content, which is the only reason the 3 hours existed, is because they were getting paid for it. And everybody was telling them, and Nick Khan said it himself, Raw would be 8 hours or whatever if he can make it that way. They get paid for every hour of content. So they probably getting paid a grip to have a third hour of SmackDown. So it will be, it's interesting. But does that mean that both SmackDown and Raw are going to be 3 hours? Because that's a lot of content. That's a lot of content. That's a lot of WWE, man. I mean, I love WWE. I love WWE. But 3 hours of it? Twice a week? Oof. Look, the pay-per-views were fine because you can just watch the matches and that's cool. And usually the TV has, more promos and things. But what made SmackDown good, usually, and what makes NXT fun, is the shows are like 2 hours or 90 minutes. Thereabouts. About a third of the show is commercials, a little bit more than that. Now they're talking about, oh my God, this show is going to be 3 hours. That's crazy. But money is what it is. I mean, I can't argue with success. This is what they wanted, and they're going to get it. That means SmackDown is going to have to balloon the roster. So expect SmackDown's roster to get pretty thick as soon as that happens. They're probably going to call up a bunch of people from NXT, and that might be when they start bringing some of those folks that we hear about, like Phoenix and Pentagon. They are here and there on their way to WWE. They're actually going to have completely new gimmicks, and they're going to come straight to the main roster. I would prefer they go to NXT first, just to get acclimated to the style and all that. And I think they'll make more of an impact on NXT. But if you're going to bring them in, SmackDown's 3 hours, they're going to need the talent. They really will. But I heard that they're actually going to have new gimmicks. This is what Lucha Blog said, that they're going to have new names, probably new masks and all that kind of stuff, which is interesting. And WWE's apparently going to go all in on the advertising for these guys. So that ought to be a big deal, man. Personally, I think NXT should be what they do first, especially for Phoenix. I think it's set him up for a failure to just throw him up on the main roster. Phoenix is dynamic, great performer. He needs to talk more, Pentagon can always do his Zayto Miedo, and that's going to get over. Everybody's going to know what it is. He's going to do it like a bunch of times per match. It's going to get over like gangbusters. But I would prefer if they go to the main roster after NXT, at least 4 or 5 months in NXT, because we see it's not really doing very much for Dragon Lee right now. And I don't like the idea of these guys being put in that same situation. So I am looking forward to those guys coming in, though. I was okay with them. Just some of the really bad botching earlier in the AEW run was not my favorite. So speaking of people coming in, there's also some stories about somebody leaving. It's contract year again for Kevin Owens. I'm going to pray that Kevin Owens finds it in his heart to say bye-bye to the WWE. I'm looking forward to Kevin Owens leaving. I want him on Wednesdays so bad you cannot believe. And when they did this, and I didn't talk about this. I'm gonna talk about it now though, because now it's on my mind. Somebody asked him about CM Punk, and he said that him and CM Punk don't talk because they're not friends. I guess there's no heat, but they don't talk. Now, Kevin Owens, of course, is friends with the Young Bucks, and so is Sami Zayn, and so is, DIY, and a lot of the other guys running around there. So, when that came out, and then I think a week or two later, it was like, oh yeah, his contract is about to expire. I was like, yes, give him a reason to leave. Give him a reason to leave. As interested as I am in Kevin Owens and CM Punk working together in WWE to see if they manage to piss each other off or whether they can find a way to work together, I would be interested in Kevin Owens sticking around if he could work with CM Punk. Same thing with Sami Zayn. I like Sami Zayn more than Kevin Owens though, and I actually don't mind Sami Zayn because he has fire and personality. He just looks too much like a distaff Bryan Danielson. Like they're trying to recreate something with Sami Zayn. He's gonna be Arab Danielson, the Arabian dragon. He is Syrian, the Syrian dragon. Call him the Syrian dragon. Anyway, if Kevin Owens gets a huge money offer from AEW, I think he should take it. He should, with gusto and run off to Orlando as quickly as possible, as fast as he possibly can. I mean, as soon as next week. I would love it if he was on Dynamite this week and just not anywhere near my WWE television. I'm so sick of Kevin Owens, I don't know what to do. I'm telling you, I don't know what to do. And my final note, Saturday night's main event is returning December the 14th. And Nassau Coliseum in Long Island, New York. Big deal. This is amazing. I've been wanting the regular return of Saturday night's main event for many, many years. I just watched the entire run of Saturday night's main event from 1985 to 1992. It seemingly kind of went away as that Gulf War storyline with Sergeant Slaughter kicked in, and all of a sudden it was also like the Cream Team stuff was going on and steroid trial and a bunch of stuff started happening all around the same time. There was a huge downturn on the WWE product, which probably didn't help as they was going into WrestleMania 7. There was the Gulf War. They had to change the venue for WrestleMania due to ticket sales and fears of terrorism. Yes, it was both of those things. Actually, Vince and, the steroids, Vince looking really bad on Donahue. Believe it or not, and nobody ever mentions this, but Vince McMahon on Donahue was about a week before WrestleMania 7. Like, think about how crazy that was. He was being accused of firing people for complaining about sexual harassment. He was being investigated for steroids, and he was on Donahue getting kind of embarrassed by that scammer Murray Hodgson a week before WrestleMania 7. So there was a huge downturn in WWF business. They had already been kind of left NBC, and I think they were on Fox at that point. So, the product wasn't as strong as it probably could have been. The reboot of Saturday night's main event in the 2000s, like 2006, 2007, those were not very good, honestly. They were like super cards, but it was mostly like tag matches, and yeah, you got Cena and Edge, but that match was taped weeks in advance, so there was nothing going to happen because it was like tribute to the troops kind of, because they were taped weeks and weeks in advance. They were usually right before WrestleMania, so it would be like WrestleMania main eventers are going to be partners against another set of WrestleMania main event guys. It's like, ugh. There was no punch behind those shows. It just felt like they were obligations. And I really don't like the Saturday Night's main events of 2006, 2007. I think there was even some in 2008. I'm not sure. But those 2000s Saturday Night's main events, I don't like those. Even though I do like Shane McMahon and Shawn Michaels, I thought that was great. And I thought Edge and Cena was okay. But a lot of the stuff that happened on those shows, they lacked a lot of what made Saturday Night's main event fun. And my first thought was obviously pessimistic and that Triple H is going to ruin this. He's going to botch it. He's going to screw it up. But at the same time, I was like, maybe he can pull it off. You know, it's going to be a live show, which is going to help tremendously, as opposed to those taped specials that they were doing. This ought to be a big deal. They ought to do it. And there's no pay-per-view, which also helps. Like, those Saturday Night's main events in the 2000s were used to sell pay-per-views. And I think most of them was WrestleManias. So this is no pay-per-view. They're going to be built into the Royal Rumble. It's going to be the big show between Survivor Series and the Royal Rumble. And you know what? That's a great spot to put it because it doesn't interfere with any major storylines, and you could actually do big things on the show. You could build to that show and treat it like a major event. So yes, I'm all for it. And I'm very excited for the return of Saturday Night's main event. Let's get into Smackdown, though. So we start with the Bloodline. Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga Loa. There was no Solo Sikoa. No Solo Sikoa this week. He was missing in action. Anyway, they come in and there's metal detectors. And the security is scared to pat them down, even though it's pretty obvious for the first two, which was Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, that they have big gold belts. But then the stuff goes off for Jacob Fatu, and they talk about they want to pat him down. So they pat him down, and he comically beats everybody up for patting him down. So we're seeing that, oh, they're going berserk tonight. Oh, those guys, they're going berserk. So Kevin Owens goes out there to discuss what he saw between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. He gets interrupted by Tama Tonga, who apparently has Tourette's. Like, solo. I'm like, what is this? What is this promo style he's doing? This is very bad. Stop doing the growling stuff. Don't do that. It's really interrupting what you got going on. And, you know, I don't get it why he's barking and shit. Anyway, he said that they're gonna pay Cody and Roman for embarrassing Solo, but Kevin Owens is going to get his just due right now. So, they about to jump Kevin Owens. DIY run to the ring. I groaned because DIY, my goodness. Triple H is going to force them upon you. There's a scrap. Nick Aldis makes the 6-man tag main event. I'm like, oh no, I don't like this. Right before the main event, Bloodline attacked DIY though. Cave some skulls in, beat him up. Then they come out to beat up Kevin Owens 3-on-1. And then the Street Profits make the save. So now DIY is swapped out for the Street Profits. This match it's okay, I guess. I mean, I'm not really interested in these 6-man tags. They seem very random. I know that, look, I'm a fan of Jacob, and I was a fan of Tama before he started cackling and, you know, gigging and Tourette syndrome. And I like the Street Profits. I can't stand Kevin Owens, but whatever. And Tonga Loa is the shits. But at least there are some guys in here to watch. I just didn't care, though. I know Street Profits and Kevin Owens, they got some heat with the Bloodline. I just didn't care. It just didn't feel like anything I was very interested in. Then, of course, after the disqualification, there was more generic brawling, which led to Jacob beating up everybody. And then DIY making another return. Another comeback. They got beat up again because they're bums. So they're still bums. There were bums 30 minutes prior to this, and they're bums still. So we have some consistency. And then Cody Rhodes limps out there. He's got a chair. He Jacob Fatu kicks the chair out of his hand. Kevin Owens picks the chair up. So Cody, of course, is looking at the Bloodline as they flee. And Kevin Owens is standing behind Cody with the chair at the ready. And he's got the chair tight in his hand. And you get the feeling he's going to swing that chair. And you're waiting, and you're waiting, and you're waiting. And then Cody turns around. And then Kevin Owens looks like a baby with his hand caught in a cookie jar. He just tossed the chair to the side. And Cody Rhodes offers his hand, and Kevin Owens hugs him. So they continue to tease the Kevin Owens heel turn. Now, the reason is that he's actually buddying up to Kevin Owens' enemies. This is subtle. They're not going to say anything right now, but they showed physically that Kevin Owens was disgusted in seeing Roman and Cody talking to each other. He was watching, which I liked. He was paying attention. And he saw that and was like, ugh, this is awful. And it was clearly he was distraught. Like, they didn't need to say it. They let his body language say it. And the threat of him hitting Cody with the chair was doubling down on how disgusted he was to see that Cody Rhodes is now buddies with, or trying to be buddies with, Roman Reigns, or they're going to work together. All these years he spent fighting Roman, and here comes Cody making peace. Yeah, I hit that fool with a chair too. You're befriending the ops. Look, if you look at the segment though, they weren't friendly, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. The cinematic masterpiece. We'll get into it in a second, but they weren't necessarily friendly. There was still a great deal of heat between the two of them. This is more like a truce, a temporary truce. And I'm guessing that's what's going to drag the heel turn out, is once Cody and Kevin Owens have this conversation, he's basically going to say pretty much that it's not him being friends with the tribal chief Roman Reigns. It's a truce, temporary truce to take out an issue that they both have. It's an alliance, more so. But Kevin Owens, why would he care about that? Why would he be interested in an alliance with the guys who caved his head in numerous times and handcuffed him and caved his head in and threw him off stuff and beat him in front of a bunch of screens? You can't be friends with my ops. That's just kind of how it is, bro. How are you going to be friends with my ops? How are you going to be working partners with the ops? You can't do that. That's going against the code. Fat guy Kevin Owens, fat bum Kevin Owens actually got a point this time. Give me credit for being fair. Kevin Owens has a point. All right, the United States Championship, LA Knight and Andrade. This match was over 20 minutes. Over 20 minutes. They worked very hard. LA Knight botched his jump to the top move. He botches that move literally every other match. It's not every match, but every other match, LA Knight is botching that move. He's introduced this beautiful top rope elbow joint where he jumps from the second rope to the top rope. I actually like that elbow. I think it's great. I like that LA Knight is trying to show his versatility and his agility, despite the fact that he's jacked and despite the fact that he's a little older. The problem is it makes him look kind of second rate when he doesn't hit those things and he's constantly slipping and falling down. It doesn't make him look cool. It's like -5 aura every time he slips. And he slipped a lot on those ropes. So, the finish was the BFT, as it should be. Andrade fought very hard. It was a fun match. Probably a little longer than it needed to be. But LA Knight won clean. After the match was some extreme weirdness, and everybody picked up on it. Andrade offers his hand to LA Knight, and it looks like this was unplanned because LA Knight offers him a fist bump instead, and Andrade literally grabs his hand and forces the handshake and then pats him on the shoulder, and LA Knight's looking kind of confused. So a lot of the internet took it to say that LA Knight was trying to big league Andrade, that he didn't want to shake his hand and all that stuff. Which is, it might be true, but Andrade is certainly not the guy to play that role with. We know that Andrade is kind of an asshole, you know? So he's not like the guy that you're going to big league. It's not going to happen. So I was almost in tears at how Andrade forced the handshake and then pat him on the shoulder. Like, this is what I wanted. Like, I changed your mind. And LA Knight was like, okay. Like, all right, I guess. But it was fine. It was a really good match. Andrade's one of my favorite guys, man. I really do. I like Andrade. I like LA Knight too, so I was in on this. All I thought is it was just a little too long. You know, it was like it was 8:27 when the match ended. Also, a little aside, whatever that thing is in Andrade's entrance video that looks like it's taking a bath, it's like it's got nipples on it. Why is it that thing? It's like an AI body with like, it looks like it's taking a bath or whatever, and it's like nipples is shining. I'm like, what is going on with that thing? I was enamored with it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It was so distracting. When I first saw it, I was like, they took down the big, Vince had those big, weird CGI graphics. They took those things down because people was like, that's weird. Why are those things there? The augmented reality joints. And now Andrade's entrance theme is El Idolo. But the video is like a topless person with shiny nipples. Look like he's washing something over his body. And I'm like, what does this got to do with Andrade? What does this got to do with anything? What is that thing? I got no answer to this question. It looked creepy. It was creepy as hell, and it jumped out at me. And it became so obvious. I was so distracted by that. Oh, like, that thing is weird. And everybody can see it. It's like on all the screens. I'm looking up at that thing like, what is that crap? Whatever. I don't know, man. I guess they were trying to make him look special. But it looked weird. It was very weird. It was like a crash test dummy taking a shower somewhere. It was very odd. Backstage, though, Carmelo Hayes strolled up on Andrade and called him a choke artist, and then said the line of the night. He said, put the fries in the bag, bro, you're washed. So then Andrade pie-faced him, and they start to fight, leading to Andrade versus Carmelo Hayes 6. Bro, Triple H has no ideas. He's got no ideas. It's a regular match. It's not even a gimmick match. It's a regular contest. We've seen this 5 times. 5 times. Bro, I beg of you to have another idea. You're going to run people off. I don't even see. What is the benefit of this now? Andrade won the series, apparently, and then got a title shot. So what now? Carmelo Hayes is going to beat him twice and then get a title shot and lose? This is the ultimate 50-50 booking. This is not good. This is the shits. If it was a gimmick match of some kind, I still would kind of groan at it, but it would at least make sense, because they've had a bunch of matches so far. But my word, I don't ever need to see these guys wrestle again. Enough's enough. They've had 5 matches in 2 months, and that's 8 shows. They've had 5 matches on like 8 shows. That's a lot. That's a lot of a lot. You're trying to make it seem like it's some epic series. They're not doing anything in between to make it interesting. And then it's not even an official best of 7 or anything like that. This is retarded. Very dumb. Before we move on to the show, let's pause for the cause, because I want to give Nick Khan a shout out for bringing in that white boxer. Who the fuck is this guy? And there's a video package for him. Who is that guy? We got more Apple Jacks in my Frosted Flakes. White boxers? A white boxer has not mattered since Rocky Marciano. Why is there a white boxer on SmackDown? Is his team paying for this? I would imagine his team is giving WWE some money to support his fights. I never heard of this guy before in my life. Who is this fellow? Oh, but Mongo, you don't know who the Klitschko brothers are. No, it's not about the Klitschko brothers. Who is this white guy? I didn't write his name. I just wrote white boxer. Who is this guy? That's who. What is with the random athletes? Random, like, you're not going to be on ESPN. Why are these guys on the show? Unless they're paying to be there, why are they there? I don't get it. It's dumb. Moving on. Great cinema comes next. Roman Reigns shows up in a motorcade. There's like 7 cars. All the same. Why? There might as well have been police escorting him to the arena. We get to Georgia Tech, the big stadium. It's empty. They stand on the 50-yard line. Cody shows up with his sports car. He takes his jacket off. They're very serious. They shot this in Atlanta. There's some music playing about storms and shit. It's just all kinds of stuff going on, right? It's real cinematic. Reminds me a hell of a lot of like De Niro and Pacino and Heat, you know, or De Niro and Pesci in Casino where they meet out in the desert, you know? And Roman he's there, he's all gritty and, you know, they shot it so well, it was so beautifully put together, and Roman just lays it on them saying, this is my city. This is my field. This is my stadium. That he once upon a time shed blood, sweat, and tears here. This is my city. What have you done for my city? And then Cody starts talking about not anything he did, but his daddy wrestling in the Omni. My multiple generations of my family, that would mean 2, have bled in the Omni, and they bled in this city. This is my home. He was born there, right? So Roman Reigns is like, yeah, this is your home. So then Roman starts talking about the new bloodline, how they took everything from him. They took Jimmy, they took the wise man, they took the Hula Fala. For the first time in a long time, there's no weight on him. He ain't got nothing to lose. And Cody says, I told you would be a tribal chief with no tribe. And then he says, we already have a tribal chief. We already have a WWE champion. Neither of those things is you. All we got left is Roman Reigns. And then he says to Roman, he wants Roman's word that he's going to have his back. Because if he gives Roman's word, he will give Roman his word that he will have Roman Reigns' back. Roman Reigns says, okay, you got my word. But when this is over, I'm taking back what's mine. So then Cody very slyly steps in Roman's way. It's not yours to take. And then Roman said, you're in my way. Cody casually steps out of the way. He's like, you're in my way. In life. And he was molding, you know. He was smoldering. And he walks off smoldering, and it was great. This was fantastic. I loved the shot, the acting. It was all fantastic. You know, it was a very pretty production. They set the bar again, this time for promos. They went from doing cinematic matches to now they're doing cinematic promos with a soundtrack and everything, right? They're trying to make this match, this is a match that could have been a throwaway. But now they're putting so much emphasis on the relationship between Cody and Roman, how important the city of Atlanta is to both of them. So now the city of Atlanta has to want these two guys to team up in Atlanta because they have roots in Atlanta. And then, of course, because it's Nick Khan, it has to be sports related. So Roman Reigns played football here. Okay. Cody lives here. He wrestled for the high school wrestling team or whatever. They didn't mention that, which they probably could have. But I loved this. I thought this was fantastic. Very theatrical. I thought I was laughed at first at how outlandish it was. But once they really started getting it, like when the motorcade came out, bro, I was dying, man. I was like, this is so unserious. It's so unserious for him to have 7 cars. It's ridiculous. Who is in all these other cars? Don't you care about our environment, Roman Reigns? These are not electric vehicles. Who is in the other cars? Are there like cars full of guys with guns? What do you need all these guys with guns for? I guess he's really like a head of state. Then he should have a police motorcade. But he had a motorcade anyway, like a parade of cars. It's crazy. But it was phenomenal. Absolutely fantastic segment. This is WWE done correctly. It's theatrical, it's over the top, it's fun, but it still gets the story rolling. And you don't get lost in the importance of it. And it was still a serious promo. It wasn't goofy. I was just being silly because I'm a silly guy. All right. Giovanni Vinci apparently owes somebody some money because he lost again to Apollo Crews. This time it just took a little bit longer. He tried to powerbomb Apollo Crews, and Apollo Crews countered it with a roll-up. Giovanni Vinci is dead in the water. I think Triple H has a little too much ego. Yeah, he thinks he could turn this around. This is a guy that wasn't over in the beginning, and now you've beat him twice, and to underneath guy, you're not going to be able to get this guy over. It's done for. He's firmly in the mid card, probably the lower mid card forever. Unfortunately, moving on very quickly because I don't have a lot of time left. Naomi and Bayley versus Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. So earlier, Nia Jax told Tiffany Stratton that if she loses, she needs to leave SmackDown. And Naomi and Bayley both talked about their common goal, about how they both wanted to win, but they also just want to get their hands on Nia Jax. So they made this match a tornado tag so it won't be boring and stupid. And it went the way that everybody thought it would, which is Naomi and Bayley kept, pulling each other off the pin, and they were teasing one another, teasing, turning, and all this kind of stuff. They had a really great spot where they both back body dropped Nia Jax. I thought that was great. In the end, though, both hit a jackknife pin on Nia and pinned her. So Nia got double pinned by both Bayley and Naomi. And so they protected Tiffany Stratton. She didn't lose. Nia lost, but she got pinned by two people, so it wasn't that big a deal. So they go backstage, and Nick Aldis says, well, there can be only one, because we're not going to do a triple threat match. So Naomi versus Bayley next week for the number one contendership. And I was like, okay, I like that. I like the idea that we're going to do what we can to dodge a triple threat match. Excellent. So that match was fine. The back body drop was the highlight. Naomi, much to her chagrin, hasn't done much since her return. I guess she's still fighting for it. Chelsea Green had a segment where she did dumpster stuff. She was in, waste management, as she said on Twitter. And she was throwing what I thought it was Deadpool at first. Like, it took me for me to look at it again. I was like, why is she throwing Deadpool in the garbage? And it turns out that it was a dummy with like a picture of Mia Yim on it. And she was beating up trash that had Mia Yim's face on it. And I didn't know where this was going or what this was about, but Chelsea Green is very over the top. It was funny, it wasn't hilarious, but it was funny. And it turns out that she and Mia Yim, is going to have a dumpster match. And this idea was pitched by Vicky Guerrero, of all people. I'm like, Vicky Guerrero? We mentioning her again, huh? Okay, look. Two women in a dumpster match. I don't know what's going on with this feud. Like, why are they feuding? I don't know. I don't even remember what this thing is over. But Chelsea Green is funny, and any opportunity for Chelsea Green to do something silly, I'm all for it. She's, again, the female version of The Miz. It doesn't matter. This is what I asked for. I know a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a couple of shows ago, I said they need to do more mid-card special matches. And now they're going to do a dumpster match for the women. So I'm okay with this, It ought to be humorous at the very least, because Chelsea Green is silly. And she's going to make it work, So even though I don't like Mia Yim, it ought to be fun because Chelsea Green is going to be involved. So that's SmackDown. A good show, actually. The promos, obviously the Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes promo was phenomenal. The Cody Rhodes, the Kevin Owens end of the show spot was fun. The Chelsea Green promo was great. Andrade was really good tonight. Him and LA Knight, him and Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes impressed on the microphone, finally. So that was good. Maybe the weak spot was definitely Giovanni Vinci, who apparently either owes somebody's money or pinched somebody's boob and he didn't need to. And because he's in a really bad state of affairs. And the forced push of DIY, I'm not a huge fan of that. I want them to go away. And the very bad promo from Tama Tonga, the Tourette's, that sucked. Otherwise, though, I enjoyed the show. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys later.
No one does it better.